What's one of the best ways to describe Rick and Morty? Each episode feels like a party popper, densely stuffed, full of streamers and confetti, unleashed on audiences with each scene and plot. And among all that confetti and dimensional travel, a whole lot of pop culture references. But Rick and Morty just doesn't make fun of the obvious. The show takes on everything we love, from popular memes all the way to some of our favorite movies. So hop aboard our ship as we travel across multiple dimensions to discover how the show manages to make fun of everything, even including some of the more outspoken fans of the show. Disney doesn't own Cartoon Network. Yet. So Rick and Morty are free to take on one of Disney's biggest properties in the form of Star Wars. Some of the more direct references come in the form of the episode Rest and Ricklaxation. The whole opening sequence is based off the original Star Wars trilogy as they emulate the Death Star getting blown up and the medal scene from A New Hope. Even better than the scenes was the aftermath, the quiet moments with Rick and Morty where what we can only imagine what Han Solo and Chewie should have went through. Despite getting medals, Rick and Morty are emotionally exhausted over what just happened. You know, kind of the opposite of how Han Solo just blew up an enormous ship and acted like nothing happened. More than anything, the show seems to reference the beloved droid R2-D2. Sure, they could have easily taken cheap shots at Jar Jar Binks or the prequel trilogies, but the R2-D2 references fill the show. In Season 4, we see R2-D2 candles during the episode Rattlestar Ricklactica. Turns out the candles were not just a random creation from Dan Harmon or Justin Roiland. There was an actual R2-D2 birthday candle that looks exactly like this design. It only took a couple of seasons to fill our phones with Rick and Morty GIFs, but everything seems to come full circle as the animated series loves to make fun of the memes we use in everyday life. The ones besides Pickle Rick.
Okay.
Remember the political candidate Rick Guilt Rick from the Season 3 episode The Ricklantis Mix-Up? He was actually designed and based off the meme of former political candidate Jimmy McMillan. The hairstyle and glasses are completely on point. The show has not only just referenced GIFs like the Taylor Swift fist-pumping meme from the Season 4 episode Claw and Hoarder Special Rickdoms Morty. Over the years, Rick and Morty has really taken on our own obsession with cell phones in general. There's Summer's use of the app Love Finders with 2 R's and a Z, and how she blindly followed her suggestions and eventually got a match with TV star Ted Danson. The funny part is that while we snap selfies with Rick filters, text Morty memes, and live tweet the show, the series is actually making fun of us the whole time. While their morals and methods may be a little unorthodox, many fans of Rick and Morty may view the title characters as heroes in their own right. Well, at least they saved their own butts time and time again. Sure, we all love the MCU and how it's changed superhero movies forever, but we can take a break from our keyboards and enjoy the Cartoon Network view of the heroes. In the episode Vindicators 3: The Return of World Ender, we get a whole Avengers spoof in the form of the Vindicators. There's Vance Maximus, the renegade Star Soldier who makes his alcohol problems seem suave and cool, unlike the burping and drooling Rick. We also loved Million Ants, the clever take on Ant-Man, but like many characters on Rick and Morty, we don't get used to them for long as they all perish and the ability to save the day is put into the hands of our favorite grandfather-grandson duo. And we can't forget about the Season 2 Total Recall episode, which featured a flashback to the family going to see Hulk the Musical. The reference was clearly making fun of how Spider-Man went to Broadway and the ridiculous ways Marvel continues to expand their properties. Who doesn't love an endless day watching mindless TV? Sure, we may feel like a groggy slob at the end of it, but there's plenty of junk to enjoy, and the highly popular Interdimensional Cable episodes captures a mix mash of all the utter crap we watch on a daily basis. The show's writers went above and beyond to deliver creative takes on all types of television shows. The alien version of Saturday Night Live features a piece of toast and Bobby Moynihan. The violent Antique Show is a classic and something we'd love to see on Antiques Roadshow. Imagine if Hoarders didn't have an intervention. Well, we'd all be glued to the TV watching Weekend at Dead Cat Lady's House too. Their takes on mindless reality TV shows are awesome too. Like the show House Hunters, where 2 people actually hunt houses. Houses with legs and everything. What's your favorite interdimensional episode? And which one reflects the sad state of some of the television we watch?
This January, it's time to Michael down your Vincents.
If you're new to the world of Rick and Morty, the first thing you will see is how the show takes on all things pop culture with its titles alone. So let's break down some of our favorites from Season 1. There's M. Night Shyamalan's Rick See Business and Close Rick Counters of the Rick kind. One of the more clever ones has to be Raising Gazorpazorp, a spoof on the Nick Cage cult comedy Raising Arizona. Season 2 continued the trend with Morty Night Run, Look Who's Purging Now, and Big Trouble in Little Sanchez, or The Wedding Squanchers. See the trend yet? Onward to Season 3 with parody titles that were very Rick-centric, including The Rick Shank Rickdemption, The Rick-Turian Morty Date, and Rick Mansing the Stone. A lot of older fans will recognize the classic movie titles instantly, while younger generations probably have to go on a Google deep dive to find the connections. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to ScreenRant, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Using your phone, turn on notifications through YouTube settings. We know how stubborn YouTube can be. Yes, Rick and Morty can easily take on mainstream hits like Star Wars and Jurassic Park, but some of the most brilliant comedy on the show goes right over viewers' heads. We're not even going to admit that we caught these the first time around. They often require some quick searches or some extra viewing, like our very own Rick and Morty episode recap videos. How obscure can we get? In the 9th episode of Season 1, Rick goes to the Needful Things shop, which was named after a Stephen King novel. The show could have easily focused on The Shining or It, but went deep into the King library. Then there's the 7th episode of the first season where we got introduced to the Gazorpian Society. The world and its inhabitants are a direct parody of a little-known sci-fi film, Zardoz. Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if anyone thought the whole plot was just an original idea. Lastly, remember the vampires from Big Trouble in Little Sanchez? They weren't inspired by a TV show or movie, but rather a tabletop RPG game entitled Vampire the Masquerade. Chances are, if you have a favorite action movie from the 80s or 90s, Rick and Morty has tackled the action head-on. One of the most recent examples comes from the Season 4 holiday special entitled Rattlestar Ricklactica. The whole second half of the episode is essentially a Terminator spoof with snakes appearing as robots and a great war taking place that Rick and Morty get themselves involved in. Rick Mansing the Stone is essentially a big parody of all things Mad Max, including Fury Road and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. The Ricklantis mix-up also channeled Denzel Washington's Training Day when we got introduced to rookie Rick Cop and his partner, a jaded veteran Morty Cop. So if you have a favorite action movie from the past, chances are that Rick and Morty have attempted to recreate the film and put their own spin on it. If you're one of the millions who was moved when E.T. flew back home and left Elliot on Earth, then you probably got even more upset at Rick and Morty's Gobo scene. Gobo was an alien that Rick, Morty, and the rest of his family were supposed to send back to his home planet. Well, things didn't quite turn out like they did in the Steven Spielberg movie. The main problem? Everyone relied on Jerry to transport Gobo to the liftoff spot, while Morty distracted the government with a fake bike ride. Jerry naturally forgot about Gobo, and the alien was left in a hot car. By the time they reached the car, Gobo was no more as his lifeless body flopped down. Yikes. Rick and Morty features a whole lot of fighting action, but they've never directly done a full-on wrestling episode. But you pro wrestling fans are not safe from the Rick and Morty influence, because as we mentioned before, they make fun of everything you love. First, the Hulk Hogan reference. In the movie Suburban Commando, Hulk Hogan works alongside actor Christopher Lloyd, who ends an argument by saying, "I was frozen today!" Well, in the pilot episode of Rick and Morty, we see class bully Frank Palicki get frozen. Later in the episode, Summer declares Frank Palicki was frozen today in the same tone as Lloyd did in the Hogan movie. Another wrestling reference was made in the episode The ABCs of Beth. As Beth angrily grabs her box of stuff and goes back to Fruipyland, Rick says, "Whatever you say, Stone Cold Steve Austin." He admits he doesn't know why he said it, but any true wrestling fan can see Beth marching off like Stone Cold, not trusting anything and taking out anyone in her way. What do Rick and Morty fans love more than anything pop culture related? Themselves!
I'm Pickle Rick! What beloved dum-dum!
Toxic fandom has become a major problem in recent years, with fans being so demanding of shows, including Rick and Morty. Well, the creators decided to mock those fans right away with the premiere of Season 4. In the episode, we see a world where a fascist version of Morty takes Rick hostage and gives him a message that sounds much like the voice of some toxic fans. Rick quickly puts Morty in his place and some of the fans at the same time. The show didn't want to get started off their long hiatus without ignoring the growing voice of the fans, and the meta moment was a great one for the series. Okay, wow, Rick and Morty really does make fun of everything. We can only imagine what's next for the show. What's your favorite parody or hidden moment? What action film should they take on next? Well, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.